Egyptian law requires that death sentences be confirmed by the presiding judge after reviewing the opinion of the Grand Mufti of Egypt, the country's leading official legal expert on religious matters. The Mufti's opinion to the judge is confidential. The guilty verdict and death sentences are still subject to review by appellate courts. Capital punishment is a legal penalty in Egypt. The state carried out at least 44 executions in 2016, at least 35 in 2017, and at least 43 in 2018, according to Amnesty International. The method of execution is hanging for civilian convictions, and by firing squad for convictions by commissioned military personnel at the time of duty. The Grand Mufti of Egypt, Shaki Ibrahim Abdel Karim Alam, is responsible under Egyptian law for reviewing all death sentences in Egypt. Legally, his opinion is consultative and not binding on the presiding court that handed down the death sentence. Executions by hanging have generally been carried out at the Cairo Central Prison. However, prisons of Wadi al-Natron and Burj al-Arab both house an execution chamber. On the 4th of March 2020, Egypt executed an army officer, Hesham Ali Ashmawy Mozzad Ibrahim. Ashmawy was born in 1978. His father, Ali Ashmawy, was a French-language teacher, and his mother, Galia Ali Abdelmegid, worked in a school. Little information exists about his life prior to joining the Egyptian Armed Forces, though he was known by family and friends to be an association football enthusiast. In 2003, Lieutenant Ashmawy married Nasreen Sayed Ali, a former senior-year student in Abdelmegid School who became a teaching assistant at Ain Shams University. They had 2 sons and lived in a building that was built by his father in the 10th district of Nasser City, Cairo. Ashmawy joined the military in 1996 and eventually became an officer in the Thunderbolt unit. He showed increasing signs of radicalization over the years, which was further aggravated by his father's death in 2010. He entered the Egyptian Military Academy in 1996. From which he graduated in 2000. He served in the Egyptian Army, initially as a regular infantryman and later as a Special Forces officer in the Thunderbolt unit. He trained in camouflage and combat readiness in challenging terrain. Ashmawy was deployed to the Sinai Peninsula for 10 years, during which the 2005 Sharm el-Sheikh and 2006 Dahab bombings took place. Accusations of spreading extremist thought and of incitement against the Egyptian armed forces led to his eventual dismissal from the military in 2011 under circumstances that remain unclear. He embraced al-Qaeda and went on to join Ansar Bayt al-Maqdis in 2012, but eventually defected from the group in 2015, following its declaration of allegiance to the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant. He formed instead his own network, Al-Murabitown, which based itself in Libya and remained loyal to al-Qaeda. Ashmawy started showing signs of extremism in 2000, when he argued with a military-assigned preacher who accidentally misread Quranic verses during a sermon. He ended up being placed under military intelligence surveillance as a result of the incident. Around that time, he was also distributing Salafist literature to his colleagues. Ashmawy traveled to Turkey in April 2013 and then crossed into the Syrian border and had a meeting with ISIS commanders. He regularly visited the Al-Anwar al-Muhammadi Mosque in Cairo's Mat-Araya district between 2010 and 2012. Meetings between him and extremist elements became frequent after he left the military. During that time, he started embracing Islamic militancy as an ideology, particularly the al-Qaeda brand. Ashmawy managed to form a militant cell with 4 other suspended officers following his 2011 dismissal, and later joined Ansar Bayt al-Maqdis in 2013 and gradually rose in the group's ranks. The Ministry of Interior also traced down a trip that he made to Turkey on the 27th of April 2013, and then later across the border into Syria, where he is suspected by authorities to have fought alongside al-Nusra Front. One of them told Reuters that Ashmawy used to wake his fellow conscripts at dawn and organize Fajr prayers. He also encouraged them not to accept orders without being convinced of them. Hesham Ashmawy's name appeared in the media for the first time in September 2013, as one of the prime suspects in the attempted assassination of Interior Minister Mohammed Ibrahim Mustafa. Hesham Ashmawy announced in a video that same month the formation of a network named Al-Maraba Town, which would remain loyal to al-Qaeda rather than ISIL, to which the latter responded later on by referring to Ashmawy as an apostate and issuing a bounty on his life. Ashmawy's Al-Maraba Town based itself in Libya and developed close ties with the local Shura Council of Mujahideen in Derna. During the same video announcement, Hesham Ashmawy encouraged Muslims to wage global jihad and denounced Egypt's government and its president. On the 8th of October 2018, Hesham Ali Ashmawy Mossad Ibrahim was captured during a surprise operation by a unit of the 106th Mayafal Brigade in the mountainous Al Ma'ar district of Derna. Other militants were also captured. On the 1st of November 2018, Ashmawy was being tried by a military court in eastern Libya, along with over 200 defendants. On the 28th of May 2019, Ashmawy was extradited by the Libyan National Army to Egyptian authorities. An Egyptian court sentenced to death Hesham Ashmawy, an ex-special forces officer turned Islamist militant, and 36 other jihadists over several terror attacks, including an assassination bid on a former interior minister. The Cairo Criminal Court condemned Hesham Ashmawy and 36 co-defendants to hang on 54 charges such as leading a terror group and targeting then Interior Minister Mohammed Ibrahim in a 2013 suicide car bombing. The death sentences can be appealed. Known locally as the Ansar Bait al-Maqdis, after the militant outfit he led in the restive Sinai region, Ashmawy later broke with the group after it pledged allegiance to the Islamic State group in November 2014. He was already sentenced to death in November by a military court over his role in 14 attacks including the 2014 killing of 22 soldiers at a border post with Libya. Al-Ashmawy was charged with other crimes, including establishing and assuming the leadership of a terrorist group, having ties with organizations such as the Palestinian Hamas movement, sabotaging state facilities, and attempting premeditated murder. Other charges against him included forming an al-Qaeda-aligned militant group in Libya. Ashmawy, dubbed Egypt's most wanted man in local media, was an officer with Egypt's special forces but discharged in 2012 over extremist religious views. Egypt has for years been fighting a hardened insurgency in North Sinai that escalated after the army's 2013 ouster of Islamist President Mohamed Morsi. On March 4, 2020, Egypt executed top Islamist militant Hesham Ashmawy after he was convicted of involvement in high-profile jihadist attacks in Egypt and the region. The execution by hanging was carried out based on a decision by the military court, and after taking all the relevant judicial procedures. Thank you for watching Death Row.